Corporate relocations and the upcoming rollout of Mumbai Metro Line 4 have positioned Thane's Wagle Estate as a premium tech hub, often referred to as the BKC of Thane. This timeline shows the transition of the zone. What was a heavy industrial area in the 1960s has evolved into a hybrid ecosystem where modern IT parks now operate alongside traditional industrial units. Significant capital flows into this specific micromarket daily to develop and lease premium commercial space. Yet, despite the influx of capital, virtually no investor here actually owns the land their high-rises are built on. Standard commercial transactions exchange capital for a freehold deed. In Wagle Estate, you only acquire 95-year use rights. The MIDC remains the absolute lessor. As the regulatory authority, every land acquisition, sublease, or plot amalgamation requires their explicit approval. Instead of a standard conveyance deed, ownership transfer within MIDC records relies on a tripartite agreement between the corporation, the original plot owner, and the new purchaser. To deploy capital in this tech hub, investors must move past standard real estate logic and operate within a specific matrix of transaction economics. Mastering this specialized legal framework is the only way to access the specific policy incentives driving Wagle Estate's growth. We can deconstruct the true cost of entry by reverse engineering a successful multi-crore IT space transaction. This transaction economics matrix shows the baseline costs, a 5 to 6% stamp duty, and a 1% registration fee. Row 3 introduces a critical variable, the MIDC transfer fee, which can range from 2 to 10% of the transaction value. This fee is determined by MIDC based on the plot's history and the entity acquiring it. Calculating this premium accurately is a mandatory step before finalizing any deal. Failing to account for this premium disrupts the capitalization table and can significantly reduce developer margins. Given the complexity of leasehold rules and transfer fees, we must ask why capital continues to flood this market. The state's IT-ITS policy incentivizes high-density vertical development to maximize urban land use. To encourage this, the government grants additional floor space index. Crucially, the premiums for this extra FSI are discounted by 50% for vertical IT development. These deal simulations outline the common commercial pathways. Developers can use a builder deal to construct the infrastructure and monetize via the IT leasing node. This model operates under a 60-40 zoning rule. 60% of the development must be core IT functions, while 40% can be allocated to allied commercial or residential services. For tenants, registered IT units are assessed for property taxes at residential rates and receive electricity duty waivers for 10 years. These state subsidies create an arbitrage opportunity where the long-term ROI outweighs the friction of MIDC compliance. For institutional investors, assigning leasehold rights previously carried the threat of an 18% goods and services tax being applied to the transfer consideration. This was settled in the Aerocom Cushions case, where the Supreme Court of India ruled in favor of property holders. The court held that the assignment of a 95-year industrial lease extinguishes the assigner's rights entirely. Because this is a transfer of benefits arising from immovable property, it cannot be classified as a commercial service supply under GST. The Revenue Department's demand was quashed because they could not prove the transaction was made in the furtherance of the assigner's core manufacturing business. This ruling preserves millions in transaction value by legally exempting isolated property assignments from an 18% tax burden. The financial benefits of Wagle Estate are dependent on the underlying compliance chain remaining unbroken. Looking at this transaction blueprint, the non-negotiable steps are mapped in Nodes 3 and 4, title due diligence and the MIDC transfer approval. We must shift focus directly to Node 8, which highlights the risk of illegal subletting. Some investors attempt to bypass the process by renting out units informally without an MIDC sublease no objection certificate. Warning tone. In this ecosystem, informal subletting is a legal breach that can lead to lease termination and the total loss of invested capital. To address title ambiguity in multi-story IT parks, the Maharashtra Revenue Department introduced a specific digital record. Instead of a traditional 712 document for the ground plot, the state now issues a floor-by-floor vertical property card. This assigns an independent record to every unit, reflecting the owner's exact proportional RERA carpet area share. This record is mandatory for all new IT projects initiated after January 2026, and older buildings must regularize their status by December 2027. This record provides strata unit owners with the legal proof of proportionality required to secure institutional banking finance. Navigating Wagle Estate's policy framework requires a specialized compliance operator rather than a standard real estate agent. The framework for this breakdown was structured by Pawan Thakur and Thakur Property Consultancy. For stakeholders looking to deploy capital, operationalizing these legal and economic insights is the necessary path to securing a compliant commercial footprint in Thane's premium IT hub.